When I speak of the glow of your aura, I am not speaking of something superficial, nor of a mere illusion conjured by the imagination of mystics. I am speaking of a psychic radiance, a field of subtle light that emerges from the depths of your inner being, from the very core of the self. It is the radiance that shines when your unconscious and your conscious are not at war, but are engaged in a slow, trembling dance of reconciliation. It is the glow that belongs to the one who has dared to encounter the shadow, who has looked into the abyss of their own darkness and has not flinched. And yet, the world does not take kindly to such radiance. The eyes of others, unaccustomed to the presence of inner wholeness, often react with envy. The envy is not always conscious. It often cloaks itself in subtle hostility, in whispers, in the quiet undermining of your presence. It may appear as disdain, as mockery, as rejection, but beneath the surface, what truly agitates them is not you as a person, but the unyielding light of your aura, which serves as a mirror to their own lack of integration. You see, the unconscious does not lie still. It projects itself onto others with a ferocity that borders on the violent. When someone gazes upon your glow and feels hatred stir within them, it is because they are encountering their own disowned self reflected back at them. The glow of your aura is nothing other than the proof that you have touched a place within yourself that they have not dared to approach. It reminds them of their wounds, their compromises, their falseness. It reveals the mask they wear, and so they despise you not because you have wronged them, but because your very existence brings into their awareness the painful reality of their own inner poverty. In dreams, this dynamic often emerges as the figure of the luminous stranger. The dreamer meets someone radiant, someone clothed in a subtle light, and instead of feeling drawn to this figure, they feel resentment, even terror. Such dreams are archetypal in nature. They show us how the psyche resists its own individuation, how it resents the one who dares to shine. This is why, in mythology, the hero is not merely opposed by monsters and dragons, but also betrayed by friends, envied by brothers, hunted by those closest to him. For the hero's aura does not only attract admiration, it provokes the latent envy buried in the collective unconscious of the tribe. This is a spiritual law as old as humanity itself. The glow of your aura becomes a lighthouse in a world of shadows, and the shadows, unable to withstand the radiance, attempt to extinguish it. When Christ walked among men, his light was unbearable to the Pharisees, who claimed they were protectors of truth. When Socrates carried within him the daimon, his presence provoked the city into condemning him. When any man or woman dares to awaken, they are met not only with reverence but with hostility. The hostility comes not from reason but from envy, which is born in the unconscious as a defense against what one cannot yet accept in oneself. Let us look deeper into this envy. Why does the glow of your aura provoke hatred rather than curiosity? Because envy is a wound of the soul. It arises when one sees in another what one secretly longs for but cannot claim. The glow of your aura represents freedom, authenticity, the courage to be whole. For one who has repressed their own authenticity, This glow is intolerable. It is easier to hate you than to face the inner fracture that prevents them from shining themselves. Their hatred is a veil over their secret longing, a mask to cover the shame of their own unlived life. The unconscious is cunning. It cannot tolerate being exposed. And so, when your aura reveals its lack, the psyche of the other person fights back with hostility. It whispers, "They are arrogant, they are false, they think themselves better than me." These thoughts are not objective truths, they are defenses, projections, shadows. The individual is not truly hating you. They are hating the image of their unlived self that your glow has awakened within them. This is why the hatred often feels disproportionate. You may have done nothing to offend, and yet their dislike burns with a strange intensity. The reason is simple. Their unconscious has mistaken you for the enemy because you carry within you the reflection of what they have denied in themselves. You are not only a person to them, you are a mirror, a symbol, a reminder, and it is unbearable. Now, what is this glow that others envy? It is not vanity, nor is it some acquired skill. It is the aura of individuation, the light of one who has begun to live in truth with their own unconscious. It is not perfection, but wholeness. It is the acceptance of the shadow. The encounter with the anima or animus, the recognition of archetypes as living presences within the soul. When such a person enters a room, others feel it, not because they have boasted or displayed, but because the unconscious of those present recognizes the vibration of authenticity. The psyche knows when it meets someone who has confronted themselves, and here lies the danger. The unconscious of others does not wish to awaken. It prefers slumber, the comfort of the collective dream. Your aura disturbs that dream. It shakes the foundations of their carefully constructed persona. It reminds them that the life they live may not be their own, but an imitation, a performance for society. And so, to protect their fragile mask, they attack you. They may not even realize it. For their hostility is often disguised as rational critique, moral judgment, or casual dismissal, yet beneath it lies envy. And beneath envy lies a wounded longing. Think of the serpent in dreams, glistening, radiant, feared and revered. The serpent has always symbolized both wisdom and danger. To the one who is ready, it offers transformation. To the one who resists, it appears as a threat. Your aura is like this serpent. It coils around the room with a subtle presence. Those who are ready see in it the sign of awakening. Those who are unready see in it the herald of their own death, the death of their false self, which they cling to desperately. Thus they envy, thus they hate. But do not imagine this hatred is entirely unjust, for it serves a function. Envy is a signal that something has been neglected within the envious soul. The hostility you encounter is also an opportunity, not necessarily for you, but for them. When they feel this burning envy, they stand at the threshold of self-realization. They may not cross it, but the possibility is there. In this sense, your aura functions as a catalyst. It provokes, it agitates, It calls forth the unconscious in others, and though they may respond with hatred, the seed of awakening is planted in the soil of their psyche. This is why I say, do not resent those who secretly hate you for your glow. Do not despair when others project their envy onto you. Recognize that it is the price of individuation. To shine is to provoke shadows. To glow is to awaken envy. You cannot separate the two. The same aura that attracts the sincere seeker also repels the one who fears themselves. This is the paradox of light. It illuminates but also blinds. And now I ask you to reflect. What happens within you when you feel the hatred of others? Does it make you doubt your glow? Does it tempt you to dim your light so as not to provoke envy? This is the temptation of the ego, to withdraw, to hide, to conform. But this is precisely the betrayal of the self, for the aura does not shine for your own glory. It shines because life itself demands expression. To dim your light, to comfort another's envy, is to betray the archetype that wishes to live through you. The task, then, is to hold steady, to let the hatred come, to endure the envy, to understand it, without being ensnared by it. Do not take it personally, for it is not truly you they hate. It is a reflection of their unlived life, the mirror of their forgotten soul. If you understand this, you will not fall into bitterness. Instead, you will walk as one who knows that the glow of the aura is both gift and burden, both blessing and trial, for the psyche moves in waves, and the glow of your aura is not constant. It flickers, it wanes, it strengthens. You must not cling to it as a possession, nor allow the hatred of others to extinguish it. Rather, you must allow it to flow as a river of inner light, sustained by the work of individuation. Every confrontation with the unconscious, every honest acknowledgement of your shadow, every dream you bring into consciousness feeds the radiance of the aura. It is not borrowed light. It is the light of the self shining through the fragile vessel of your humanity. And this is why they envy it, because it cannot be faked, it cannot be purchased, nor stolen, nor borrowed. It arises only through the alchemy of suffering, reflection, and courage. It arises only when one has died to the false self and been reborn to the truth. This glow is not glamour, it is authenticity. And authenticity is the rarest thing in the world. When you walk into the presence of others with this glow, you carry a subtle disturbance that the ordinary person cannot articulate. They might smile politely, they might engage in trivial conversation, but beneath the surface, their unconscious begins to stir. It is as though you have brought a mirror into the room, a mirror that does not reflect their carefully arranged persona, but the shadowed outline of their true self. This is why envy is so often silent. It hides itself behind social courtesies, behind the practiced civility of culture, and yet you can feel it, like a cool draft that cuts across your warmth, like a glance that lingers just a moment too long. You feel the weight of being silently measured, silently resented, silently opposed. And so you must understand that the glow of your aura is not merely a spiritual ornament, it is a psychological event. It is a confrontation between the unconscious of one person and the lived authenticity of another. The aura functions as an archetypal symbol, and archetypes have power. They break through the thin crust of the ego and demand a reaction. That reaction may come in the form of reverence or in the form of hostility. Both are responses to the same archetypal energy, the recognition of wholeness in another human being. This is why myths are filled with stories of radiant figures who provoke both devotion and betrayal. Joseph, clothed in his coat of many colors, shines with a symbolic aura, and his brothers, unable to bear the reflection of his favor, conspire to destroy him. In the story, it is not Joseph's arrogance alone that causes their hatred. It is the unbearable sight of his glow. It is the envy of one who has found favor when they themselves feel unseen. In every betrayal of light there is envy, and in every envy there is the shadow's cry of neglect. I tell you this, do not be deceived by the appearance of hatred. Beneath the hatred lies longing. Beneath the resentment lies the aching cry of the unlived life. Those who envy you are not truly your enemies. Though they may wound you, they are, in a deeper sense, victims of their own shadow, slaves to the psychic forces that they have refused to confront. Their envy of your aura is the outer symptom of an inner disease, a disease of avoidance, of repression, of fear. In the language of alchemy, the aura is like the philosopher's stone, the glowing presence that arises after the prima materia has been transformed. It is the visible sign of the invisible work. But remember this, the alchemist who carries the stone is always in danger, for the masses misunderstand what they see. To them it looks like magic, like arrogance, like theft. They cannot comprehend that it was forged in fire, in suffering, in solitude. They do not know that behind the glow lies years of wrestling with the unconscious, with dreams and symbols, with wounds and darkness. They only see the glow and assume it was given without cost. Envy feeds upon this misunderstanding, for it imagines that what you possess was stolen from the common share of humanity. Envy always imagines theft. It whispers, "You took what I was meant to have." It does not see that each must do their own work, descend into their own depths, confront their own shadow. It sees only the glow and concludes that something has been unfairly distributed. And so hatred is born. But what is hatred in the psychic sense? It is an attempt of the ego to destroy what the unconscious has revealed but cannot integrate. Hatred is psychic resistance made flesh. When they hate you, they are not attacking you. They are attacking the symbol you have become for them. Your aura stands as a living reminder that there is another way of being, a deeper authenticity, a life not governed by fear. And because they cannot yet accept this possibility for themselves, they attempt to annihilate it outside of themselves. Hatred is the unconscious screaming, "Do not show me what I refuse to see." You will feel this hatred. It will sting. It will tempt you to question your own authenticity. Perhaps you will even wonder if you are guilty, if you have been arrogant, if your glow is too much. But this is the seduction of projection. The hatred is not about you, though it feels directed at you. It is about them. about the shadow that has been awakened within them by the light you carry. I want you to reflect on dreams where you have been pursued by faceless enemies. So often the dreamer comes and says, "Why do they chase me? Why do they hate me?" And I answer, they do not hate you. They hate the light you are carrying. You are running not from strangers, but from the projections of the unconscious, the guardians of repression. They pursue you because the psyche resists transformation. In the waking world, this dynamic repeats itself. Those who secretly hate you are not pursuing your destruction. They are running from the eruption of their own unconscious, which you unknowingly have provoked. This glow of your aura is also deeply erotic, in the Jungian sense of eros. The binding force of connection, it awakens longing even as it awakens hatred. This is why envy is often mixed with attraction. Have you not noticed how those who resent you often linger near you, how they cannot stay away, even as they complain or criticize? This is because the glow both threatens and fascinates. It wounds and it heals. It reminds them of something they crave. And so they circle you, drawn in spite of themselves. The unconscious is paradoxical. It flees what it desires and desires what it flees. And so the envious one becomes caught in a psychic dance around you. They may speak ill, they may sabotage, they may wound you with words or gestures, but they also cannot fully sever themselves from your presence. For your aura has awakened a fire in them. And though they try to extinguish it, they cannot. They may hate you, but they need you because you represent the forgotten flame of their own soul. This is why the mystic must learn compassion, even for those who hate him, not naive tolerance, not sentimental indulgence, but true compassion. The recognition that hatred is a wound, that envy is a form of suffering. This does not mean you must submit to their projections or allow their hostility to harm you. It means you must see with clear eyes that their hatred is not about you. It is about the shadow. It is always about the shadow. The greatest temptation for the one who glows is to retaliate, to mirror the hatred back, to grow bitter. But bitterness is the poison of the soul. It corrodes the aura, dims the glow, hardens the heart. If you descend into bitterness, you lose the very light that provoked the envy in the first place. The task is not to retaliate, but to stand firm in your authenticity, to allow the envy of others to pass through you like wind through branches. Let it move, let it howl, but do not let it uproot you. Here lies the paradox. The glow of your aura is both your shield and your target. It attracts envy, but it also protects you from it. For the aura is not merely a field of light. It is the presence of the self made manifest. And the self cannot be destroyed by envy, no matter how much hatred it provokes. The aura may flicker, you may feel the sting of rejection, but the light itself is eternal. For it does not belong to you alone. It is the life of the cosmos flowing through you. The radiance of the archetype finding expression in your finite form. I want you to imagine a dream. You are walking through a dark forest and suddenly a lantern glows in your hand. As you walk, creatures of the night gather at the edges of the path. Some hiss, some bare their teeth, some whisper curses, You feel their hatred. But you also notice that they are drawn closer by the very light they resist. The lantern is your aura. The forest is the unconscious. The creatures are the projections of others. You cannot control how they respond, but you can choose whether or not to let go of the lantern. And I tell you, never let it go. You must walk with the glow, even if it means walking alone. For the aura is not meant to win the approval of others. It is meant to illuminate the path of your individuation. Those who envy you may fall away. They may turn against you. They may whisper in secret corners, but your task is not to manage their envy. Your task is to remain faithful to the self, to carry the glow through the darkness, to let it shine, regardless of who is provoked. And in time, some who once envied, you may awaken. They may realize that the hatred they felt was a mask for longing. They may come to see that your glow was not an insult to them, but an invitation, and then the envy will transmute into gratitude, the hatred into reverence. But this is not your doing. It is the work of the unconscious in them, ripening in its own time. You cannot force it, nor should you wait for it. You must live your individuation, regardless of who understands. The glow of your aura is proof that you have entered into the mystery of your own psyche. It is proof that you have dared to wrestle with archetypes, to confront symbols, to embrace the opposites. It is not perfection but wholeness, not arrogance but authenticity. It is the sign that the self is alive in you. And that is why they envy you. That is why they secretly hate you. And that is also why you must never surrender it. When envy enters the realm of intimate relationships, its power becomes even more insidious. It is one thing to be envied by strangers or acquaintances, but it is another to feel the sting of secret resentment from those who profess love for you. The glow of your aura does not only disturb enemies, it unsettles lovers, friends, even family. The unconscious is no respecter of bonds. It reacts to authenticity wherever it finds it, even in the face of affection. Consider how many betrayals in myth and scripture emerge from within the circle of intimacy. Cain envied Abel, not a stranger but a brother. Judas envied Christ, not a distant opponent but a companion. In families, in marriages, in friendships, envy often hides beneath declarations of loyalty. It disguises itself as subtle mockery, as cold withdrawal, as une explained distance, and you, glowing with the light of your individuation, may feel bewildered, asking yourself why those closest to you seem to pull away when you shine most brightly. The answer is always the same. The glow of your aura magnifies the shadow in others, even those who love you. Your authenticity becomes a mirror in which they see not only their unlived life, but also the compromises they have made in intimacy. This is why a spouse may suddenly grow hostile when you begin to awaken, why a parent may resent the independence of a child, why a friend may recoil when you transform. They are forced to confront the painful truth that the bond they cherished was built, at least in part, on the mutual agreement to remain asleep. This is not to condemn them, for who among us does not fear awakening? But it is to reveal that the glow carries a cost To individuate is to risk the envy of those you most desire to be close to. It is to discover that the unconscious does not care for harmony, it cares for wholeness. And wholeness often disrupts the fragile peace of relationships in dreams. This truth appears symbolically. You may dream of standing in a room filled with loved ones, but you notice their faces are obscured, twisted, or hostile. They seem to look upon you not with love, but with suspicion. Such dreams are archetypal images of the tension between your inner growth and the collective bonds of your outer life. They reveal that your aura has become too radiant for the comfort of the old order. Something must change. Either the bond must deepen, or it must dissolve, but it cannot remain unchanged. This is why individuation is often accompanied by loneliness. The glow of your aura separates you, even as it connects you. It connects you to the self, to the archetypal world, to the mystery of existence itself. But it separates you from those who refuse to confront their own unconscious. And so you walk a paradoxical path, illuminated yet isolated, radiant yet resented. When you begin to glow, you may notice that conversations with loved ones grow strained. What once felt natural now feels forced. They accuse you, perhaps subtly, of changing, of becoming distant, of thinking yourself superior. They do not realize that what they resent is not arrogance, but authenticity. Your aura has disrupted the implicit contract of conformity, where once you mirrored their shadow without protest. Now you stand in your own light, and that is intolerable to the unconscious. This is especially pronounced in romantic love. The glow of your aura carries a magnetism that attracts the unconscious of others. Lovers are drawn to your light as moths to a flame. They are intoxicated by the presence of someone who radiates authenticity, but over time, this intoxication gives way to resentment, for your glow exposes their wounds, their fears, their limitations. What first seemed enchanting begins to feel threatening. The lover says, "I love you," but secretly whispers, "I envy you." They may not even know it, but their unconscious does. Here lies one of the most painful truths of individuation. Your aura will both attract love and provoke hatred in the same person. It is not unusual for the lover who once adored your glow to suddenly despise it, to turn cold, even hostile. This is not because their love was false, but because the unconscious resists transformation. They long to bask in your light, but they also fear being consumed by it. And so they oscillate between devotion and envy, between admiration and hatred. How then do you navigate such relationships? With clarity, with compassion, and with boundaries. You must see their envy for what it is, a projection of their own shadow. You must not internalize their resentment, nor dim your aura to preserve their comfort. For if you dim your light, you betray not only yourself, but also the relationship, which becomes founded upon falseness. The only true bond is one in which both souls dare to face their own unconscious. Anything less is illusion. Do not be surprised if your glow leads to the dissolution of certain relationships. This, too, is part of individuation. The aura is a purifier. It burns away false attachments, shallow bonds, relationships founded on repression. What remains is what can endure authenticity. What dissolves was never truly whole. This is a painful process, but it is also liberating, for to live in truth is to accept that not all who love you can walk with you into the deeper waters of the soul. Envy within family is particularly difficult. Parents may resent the glow of a child who surpasses them. Siblings may compete for recognition. Relatives may whisper against the one who stands out. This is why myths of sibling rivalry are so prevalent. The unconscious experiences the glow of another as a threat to its own significance. In the collective psyche of the family, one who shines too brightly becomes a destabilizing force. And so, even in the midst of kinship, hatred arises. But remember, the glow of your aura does not belong to you alone. It is a manifestation of the self, the living archetype. It is not a possession but a calling. And so, though others may envy you, you cannot extinguish the glow to appease them. You must walk in fidelity to the self, even if it means being misunderstood by those you love most. This loneliness is not without purpose. For individuation requires separation. The self cannot emerge if one remains swallowed by the collective. The glow of your aura is both a sign and a tool of this separation. It forces a rupture, a distance, an estrangement, but this estrangement opens the way for a new kind of connection. Not bonds of conformity, but bonds of authenticity. Not relationships built on shadow, but relationships rooted in truth, in dreams. This new connection often appears as a mysterious figure, the wise old man, the anima, the animus, the inner companion. When outer relationships falter, the psyche reveals that you are not alone. The self walks with you, even in solitude, and so the aura glows not only for others but for you, to remind you that you are sustained by a deeper presence, a divine archetypal source. I tell you this so that you may not despair when envy arises in intimacy. Understand it as a natural consequence of the aura. Do not curse those who resent you, but do not betray your glow for their sake. Hold steady. Allow the light to test every bond. What survives will be true, and what perishes was false. This is the purifying fire of individuation. You must come to see envy not as a punishment but as a compass. It reveals where authenticity provokes resistance, where shadows are stirred, where growth is possible, even in the envy of your loved ones. There is hidden potential. If they choose to confront their unconscious, your glow may serve as their catalyst. If not, they will fall away, but the seed of possibility will remain in them. You cannot control this outcome. You can only remain faithful to your path, and so the glow of your aura becomes both a trial and a gift in relationships. It strips away illusions. It exposes hidden wounds. It calls forth the shadow in others, but it also creates the possibility of a new kind of love, a love that is not built on repression, but on truth. Not on projection, but on recognition. This is rare, but it is real. And when you encounter it, you will know it by the absence of envy, by the presence of a shared glow, by the resonance of two souls who have dared to face their own darkness. In this way, The envy of others serves the deeper purpose of the self. It may wound you, but it also refines you. It forces you to stand alone, to detach from false attachments, to embrace your authenticity regardless of external approval. It teaches you that the aura is not for the applause of others, but for the illumination of your path. And so, when they envy the glow of your aura, when they secretly hate you, remember this: you are not the object of their hatred, but the mirror of their unlived soul. You are not guilty, but chosen. You are not arrogant, but authentic, and authenticity in a world of shadows will always provoke envy. When we lift our vision beyond the individual and the intimate, we discover that envy is not merely a personal phenomenon. It belongs also to the collective, whole societies, entire cultures, even great institutions are subject to the same psychic laws as individuals. The glow of a single individual's aura can provoke the envy not only of neighbors or family, but of the collective unconscious of an age. History bears this out with brutal clarity. Whenever a figure arises who carries within them the radiance of authenticity, the world responds with ambivalence. On the one hand, people are drawn in fascination, sensing that a new possibility for life has appeared in their midst. On the other, they recoil, for such a figure exposes the falseness of their collective beliefs, the emptiness of their conformity, the shallowness of their institutions. The reaction is always mixed: devotion and persecution, reverence and crucifixion, admiration and condemnation. Think of the prophets of old, who spoke with a glow not of borrowed rhetoric, but of living truth. They were stoned, rejected, mocked, even as their words burned into the collective psyche and transformed civilizations. Think of Socrates, condemned not for crimes, but for daring to embody the daimon, for daring to live in fidelity to his inner voice. Think of Giordano Bruno, burned because his vision of infinite worlds threatened the dogmas of his age. In each case, the aura of authenticity was too radiant for the fragile structures of the collective ego. And so envy, clothed in legal or religious language, demanded their destruction. This is the paradox. The collective hungers for light, but fears it at the same time. People yearn for those who embody truth. But when the truth exposes their shadow, they rise against it. They envy the glow of the awakened one, and so they secretly hate them. They crucify what they secretly desire. This collective envy takes many forms. Sometimes it is overt, as in persecution, censorship, exile. Sometimes it is subtle, as in ridicule, dismissal, or the slow suffocation of silence. A society may not burn you at the stake, but it may bury you beneath indifference. The effect is the same. The aura threatens the collective illusion, and so the collective must neutralize it. You too will experience this if you carry the glow, perhaps not on the scale of history, but in the small worlds you inhabit, your workplace, your community, your culture. You will find that institutions resist your authenticity. They are built upon collective agreements, upon personas writ large, The aura disrupts these agreements. It reminds people that the structures they serve may not be absolute but contingent, may not be truth but compromise. And so the collective reacts with envy. You may notice that when you speak authentically in such settings, silence falls or is turned away. You may be labeled rebellious, difficult, arrogant. These are the words societies use to cover envy. What they truly mean is, your aura has exposed the emptiness of our conformity. They hate you not because you are wrong, but because you are luminous. Dreams reveal this collective dynamic as well. Many dream of standing before a tribunal, of being judged by faceless crowds, of being accused by shadowy figures. These dreams are the psyche's symbolic representation of collective envy. The crowd in the dream is not merely outer society, it is the inner collective of the psyche. The chorus of internalized voices that resist individuation. To glow is to stand before the tribunal of the collective, both within and without, and the verdict is almost always the same: condemnation. But remember this, condemnation is not proof of failure, but of authenticity. If the collective applauds too readily, it may be because you have not truly disturbed its shadow. The aura always provokes resistance. If you are envied, if you are hated, it is because the glow is real. And though the collective may suppress it for a time, the light cannot be extinguished. It moves underground into the unconscious, where it germinates, waiting for the moment to break forth again. This is why I urge you to stand firm. Do not dim your glow to win the approval of society. Do not barter your authenticity for collective acceptance, for society will always envy the aura, and envy will always turn to hatred. If you compromise to appease it, you will lose both your light and your soul. The task is not to conform, but to endure, to carry the glow, even in the face of opposition. Yet do not misunderstand me. I am not calling you to arrogance, to stand against the collective with contempt. I am calling you to humility, to understand that the glow is not yours but the self's. It is not for you to wield as a weapon, but to embody as a vessel. The aura is a gift and a responsibility. It demands courage, but also compassion. For those who envy you are not evil. They are wounded. They are terrified of their own unconscious. Their hatred is the cry of a soul not yet ready to awaken. Thus, the aura calls you to hold paradox, to stand firm without bitterness, to glow without pride, to endure envy without retaliation. This is not easy. It requires a deep anchoring in the self, a willingness to suffer misunderstanding, rejection, even hostility, without letting the heart harden. It requires faith that the glow itself is enough, that it will accomplish its purpose, even if the world resists. And what is that purpose? The purpose of the aura is to reveal possibility. It is to remind humanity, both individually and collectively, that there is more to life than masks, more than conformity, more than the shallow agreements of the persona. The aura is the self made visible, the archetype incarnate. It is the promise that wholeness is possible, that authenticity can be lived, that the unconscious can be integrated. That is why they envy it. That is why they secretly hate it. But that is also why the world cannot live without it. In the end, the envy of others is not your concern. What matters is that you remain faithful to your glow. Do not ask whether others will understand, whether they will admire or despise you. That is not your task. Your task is to walk the path of individuation, to carry the light into the darkness, to allow the self to shine through you without apology. You will be envied, you will be hated, but you will also be free, for the aura is the mark of liberation, the sign that you are no longer bound by the chains of the collective. It is the radiance of one who has entered into the mystery of their own soul and emerged, transformed, and once you have touched that light, nothing, not envy, not hatred, not even death can take it from you. So when they envy the glow of your aura, when they secretly hate you, smile with the quiet, knowing that this is the cost of authenticity. Do not shrink, do not retaliate, simply shine, for the glow is not yours alone. It belongs to the eternal, to the archetypal, to the divine mystery that lives in all. And in time, even those who hate you will be unable to forget the light they once envied. Perhaps they will remember it in their dreams as a radiant figure who visited them. Perhaps they will recall it at the hour of their despair, when all else fails and they long for a glimmer of truth. Perhaps they will resist it until death. And yet, the seed planted by your glow will wait for another life, another age. You cannot know, but you can trust that the light is never wasted. For envy and hatred are but the shadows cast by light. They prove the light exists, and the glow of your aura, born of suffering, of courage, of fidelity to the self, is the light the world secretly longs for. Even as it resents it, do not hide it, do not fear it, simply carry it, as the lantern in the forest, as the serpent in the dream, as the stone in the alchemist's hand. Carry it and let it shine. And so I leave you with this. The envy of others is not your curse but your crown. The hatred of others is not your downfall but your initiation. Walk with your glow, endure the envy, and know that in doing so, you fulfill the deepest task of the soul, to embody the self in a world that fears it, to shine with the light that others deny, to live as a witness that wholeness is possible. This is why they envy the glow of your aura. This is why they secretly hate you. And this is why you must never extinguish the light